Welcome into the Kansas City Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Harrison Graham. Let's get into the latest rumors and news around Kansas City, and I think we should take a look at some potential Bashaud Breeland replacements, internal replacements. Now, obviously the news is that Breeland has signed a one-year deal with Minnesota, happened over the weekend. If you missed it, he is gone. He will not return to the Kansas City Chiefs as he agrees to a one-year deal worth up to $4 million. I mean, I got to be honest, it's pretty cheap money for a guy who's played at a very high level the past couple of seasons. What this tells me is the Chiefs clearly didn't think they needed him back, or they just weren't willing to pay him $4 million for whatever reason. Now, I want to be clear before we talk further about this situation, about some guys who need to step up or could step up. I would have re-signed Breeland at that cost. I would have given him $5 or $6 million. He's played like a low-end number one corner, a high-end number two corner for the past 2 seasons. I would have brought him back, but nevertheless, Kansas City has moved on. They did not bring him back. He is up in Minnesota now, so you kind of start looking like, all right, this is where you sit, and this is where it's been sitting for several months now. I think L'Jarius Sneed takes that leap. I think he'll be your number one corner. Okay, that's done. He's a starter. Does Charvarius Ward remain as a starter? He started the past couple of years. I thought, regressed in a lot of ways this past season as your CB2. So does he stay there? Does Rashad Fenton slide over to the outside and play outside corner? How about DeAndre Baker? I think that's a name to keep in mind when discussing all of these possibilities as well. So keep those 3 names. So who you got out of those 3 dudes? Who is CB2 on this football team? Type W for Charvarius Ward, type F for Rashad Fenton, type B for DeAndre Baker. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Let's talk about each guy a little bit more here then. Charvarius Ward, what does he bring? Experience, knows the system, played in a lot of big games, has made some good plays throughout his career. Much better in 2019 than he was in 2020, but he's cheap, he's been valuable. Obviously has to play better than he did a year ago, so those are kind of the couple of bullet points on him. Okay, Rashad Fenton, young up-and-coming player. When he's played, he's made plays, had a pick last year, and way less snaps than Charvarius Ward, who had 0 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. Again, wasn't a full-time starter a year ago. Every time Fenton's gotten on the field, he's been a playmaker. Also, he offers versatility, which is why I think Rashad Fenton will be your starting nickelback. That's what I believe. L'Jarius Sneed played some nickel last year. I think you keep him on the outside. He's got the length. He's got the size. I think he's your CB1. I think Fenton slides into the nickel and is your nickelback, which means CB2 currently on the roster is down to Charvarius Ward and DeAndre Baker. DeAndre Baker, a player who was a first-round pick in 2019 with the New York Giants. Had the legal situation. They cut ties with him, but those charges were dropped. Chiefs signed him late last season. He kind of just sat on the practice squad for the most part, but now he enters this offseason as a real opportunity to be a starter next season. I think he will compete with Charvarius Ward to be CB2 now that Bashaud Breeland has moved on and signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Again, I would have re-signed him. He's been reliable. He's been solid. I would have brought him back, but now that he's gone, it'll be interesting to see which one of these other guys steps up and ends up being a starter opposite of L'Jarius Sneed. Today's Chiefs Report is sponsored by the Newsbreak app, and guys, I'm in a challenge with Mitchell Renz and the Raiders Report to get more downloads in the month of June. You see that link below? On your phone, can't be on your laptop or your desktop. On your phone, I want you to go to that link, chatsports.com/ChiefsNB. Just type it into your Safari, click on the link in the comments because it'll be in there as well. That'll redirect you to the App Store, and you can download the Newsbreak app there. If you go straight to the App Store and download the Newsbreak app, we don't get credit here at the Chiefs Report, and then Mitchell Renz is going to catch up to us. Guys, we're winning so far, 11 downloads to 9 downloads in the month of June. So type this in, chatsports.com/ChiefsNB, in your Safari browser or Google Chrome, whatever you use on your mobile device, and then it'll redirect you to the App Store. Click that download button from there, and I don't care if you use the app or not. I would encourage you to do so. I would encourage you to follow us at the Chiefs Report on Newsbreak as well, but I'm trying to catch up to the Raiders Report overall. We're beating them in June, but overall, he still has me beat, so download the app, chatsports.com/ChiefsNB. We can't let Raider Nation beat Chiefs Kingdom in anything, including Newsbreak. Did the Chiefs never want Julio Jones? I'm not so sure about this. Peter Schrager threw this out there today. He reported that the Chiefs were never in on Julio, and maybe that ultimately that is true. But I'm pretty confident that Brett Veach at least checked up on this, at least called the Falcons and looked for compensation. Ultimately, he ends up going to Tennessee in a trade that took place yesterday on Sunday afternoon. Now, the Chiefs, the reason it's possible they never really took a serious look at this, Chiefs do have some players they got to get done in the future. Orlando Brown, you're going to have to extend him. Tyrann Mathieu, you're going to have to keep him long term, which in the short term could have helped you keep Julio to clear cap this year, but long term, big contract. You've got some contracts coming up. Tyreek Hill extension could be in the works in the next year as well, so you can't have everyone. Here's what Schrager had to say on this one. Getting a lot of questions from Chiefs fans regarding Julio Jones. KC was never truly in the Julio sweepstakes. It's nothing against his talent or their belief that he's still a top receiver. The financials just never made sense. Cash comes into play. A lot of good points there. Could the Chiefs have made this work? Yes. You extend Tyrann Mathieu, maybe restructure one other contract, you're good to go. That being said, you can't have everyone. Like, this has already been a great offseason. What was the weakness heading into the offseason? The offensive line, with the injuries and the aging Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. You cut ties with them, and you retool it with some young studs like Joe Thuney and Orlando Brown. You can't get everybody, guys. Sure, would I have taken a stab at Julio Jones? Perhaps. And did he go for that much to the Tennessee Titans? Not really. The Titans got Julio in a sixth, only gave up a second and a fourth. That's a pretty decent deal for Tennessee. That being said, while I would have loved to see it happen, Schrager makes some good points. You got to extend other guys, younger guys, by the way, guys who are going to be here for the next 5-10 years, hopefully, guys like Orlando Brown and potentially Tyreek Hill in the near future. So, end of the day, I would have loved to see it happen. Not surprised that it didn't, though. Would you have done this trade, though? This exact trade, would you have traded a second and a fourth for Julio and a sixth? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I would have been tempted. I cannot lie. It's not. You didn't even have to give up a first, and you got a day 3 pick in return. That's pretty decent for the Tennessee Titans. I actually like that deal. Y for yes, N for no. If you would have done that same trade. But you have to factor everything. You can't just factor in the cost of the trade. You got to factor in the cost of the player, because Julio is going to want a new deal with Tennessee, which that's already being reported on, reworking his contract there. Maybe he gets his hit lowered this year for Tennessee, but long term, still have to keep him as well. So, you know, I'm still having the kind of daydreams in my brain of Julio catching balls from Patrick Mahomes opposite of Tyreek Hill, but it just wasn't meant to be. Good for the Titans for making a move for a true number one receiver. By the way, Chiefs Report, we're closing in on 17,000 subscribers. We cover all the top stories regarding Chiefs Kingdom right here. Help us get there. Hit that big red button and subscribe today when Chiefs news happens, when rumors are buzzing around the league, weekly mailbags as well. We have you guys covered. YouTube.com/ChiefsTV. Go ahead and click that link, but just click the red subscribe button right below the video right now. Hey, you can't miss it. You won't miss a video if you do. So, more on Julio, though. So now you kind of, okay, the Julio pipe dream's dead. I don't think you're making a move for another vet receiver out there. I don't think like Josh Gordon is going to be an option or someone like that. So you got to go to war with what you got, and we'll see who emerges behind Tyreek Hill. Hardman, Robinson, and Pringle have all shown they can be good players. They just haven't been consistent. Cornell Powell is a player that's getting rave reviews in rookie minicamp and OTAs. We'll see if he steps up. Julio's not the answer. He's not going to be your number 2 receiver in Kansas City, as much as we all would have liked to see it happen. Now you got to focus on the guys you do have. So it'll be very, very interesting to watch, and the open competition should be fun, because I think these 4 guys right here, as we ask you this question of who will be wide receiver 2, these guys will be competing for snaps. I mean, I don't think any of them have an edge. If anyone has an edge, it's probably Mecole Hardman, because you spent a second-round pick on him a couple of years ago, and he's a player who has been productive at times, but he's going to have to prove it this offseason and in the preseason to be that true number 2 receiver. Type 1 if you think Hardman will emerge, 2 for Robinson, 3 for Pringle, or 4 for rookie Cornell Powell. Real quick before we sign off, I want to tell this awesome Patrick Mahomes story that I found very, very interesting. There was an article out there on the internet about this. Brandon Jones, former Texas safety, now playing with the Dolphins, got drafted by them, I believe last year, 2020 draft pick. Goes back to high school with Mahomes, played against him in high school, and told this story recently. He was asked about the Chiefs quarterback, said, quote, "All right, so sophomore year, I'm in high school. I'm on the field, catching punts for warm-ups, and This receiver for the other team is standing right beside me on the 20-yard line. I turned around like, why is this dude right beside me? Boy, when I tell you, this quarterback was slinging it 80 yards during warmups, 80 yards, man. So in my head, I'm like, no way this dude just does this. Wait until the game starts. Well, he threw for 400 yards, and they beat us by about 30 points. Then, of course, my luck, he ends up playing in the same conference as me in college, Texas Tech, of course. So get 4 more years of that. Now, Buddy won the Super Bowl and MVP. Thought that was a fun story. Obviously, we know Mahomes has a ridiculous cannon for an arm. He's simply just different, guys. Like, I'm not saying he's the greatest quarterback of all time, but he might be the most physically gifted of all time. I don't think that's too far-fetched to say. He's a mobile quarterback that can throw the ball 85 yards downfield. I mean, they just don't build him like Patrick Mahomes. You built him in a factory somewhere. The guy has just been unbelievable, and he's turned the physical talent into production. I mean, what he's done through his first 3 years as a starter, it's unmatched from any point in NFL history. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's averaging almost 5,000 yards a season. He's got 90 more touchdowns than interceptions in 3 seasons as a starter. His QB rating is off the charts. This guy is a beast. This guy ain't going anywhere. Brandon Jones has been demoralized by this guy for almost a decade and probably will for several more years since he is in the AFC playing with the Miami Dolphins. All right, that's it for today's show. Before we sign off, quick reminder, subscribe to the channel, closing in on 17,000 subscribers. If you've already subbed, you guys are the best. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.